Hey, the date is July 27th, 2024. It's kind of cold today, so I'm wearing a hoodie and a beanie to keep warm. Very random because it is the midst of summer and it's below 50 degrees outside. And for those that aren't living in California, that is cold for us, unfortunately. Um, so for this week's video, it's not going to be the same format of kind of having like a stream of consciousness, random topics to run through. For this video, we're going to be talking about run clubs and my observations of the kind of sudden boom of popularity in run clubs. I live in the Bay Area, and there seems to be hundreds of run clubs within every city. Um, So I want to talk a little bit about that. Why is it that these have sprung up somewhat, spontaneously? What are the negatives, and where do we go from? What's the future of run clubs look like? So, just to give you a little bit of backstory, I am a pretty active person. I've always been involved in some kind of sport on the side. I've tried to keep my body physically active in some way, but I always found running incredibly boring. Sorry about that. I just got a notification on my phone that my phones are gonna die. So let's keep this going. Yeah, I always found running incredibly boring. Um, and it's likely because I'd run in treadmills, and it's just not a natural way to exert um energy, I guess, inside when you're running in place. But after running outside and in trails and nature and like with people, I found this like hidden joy from it, and I kind of got hooked to it. I had a friend in January who's telling me like that we should do a marathon this year. I told him to chill a little bit and told him like let's start with a 5K maybe and then a 10K and then half marathon and then maybe eventually a marathon. So that's kind of the plan that I followed. I did a 10K and I'm doing a half marathon next month, in 2 weeks actually. Um, And as I'd run with this friend, I started getting one or two other friends that I'd run with every once in a while. And I noticed that there'd be so many people congregating at parks, on trails, at random locations. And I looked into it after talking to people and looking at Instagram and social media, and there were run clubs. Um, they've always existed, but not to the same extent that they exist now. And I've joined a couple, like a handful of sessions with them, maybe 5, 6 sessions. And I've talked to people about it, and I've come up with a few reasons as to why it is that this has kind of sprung up. Um, and the primary reason is that it meets a need that people have, and that need is community. If you think of the average person, the average working class person in the States, you wake up maybe 7 to 8 a.m. You go to your 9 to 5. If you commute, it's even worse. You work there until 5, 6 o'clock, and you commute back home. Maybe you have time to go to the gym, maybe you don't. Um, and you usually don't have time to even cook for yourself, so you just go to sleep and do the same thing over and over again. It's a very rigid and prison like system. It's slavery, basically. Um, and when I went on a random run club on a Wednesday of all days with over 200 people showing up to this event, it clicked to me that people don't want to be within this fixed routine. They want more freedom. They want to de-atomize themselves and they want to be part of a community. Um, and when you think of the alternatives to do this, let's say you go to a bar. One, you got to break the bank. You got to spend a lot of money usually to get drinks, to meet people. Two, it's unhealthy. It's not a sustainable thing that you want to do. And you can also question, it's a different argument, you can question whether or not the kinds of people that you want to meet will be in those locations. So it ticks three boxes: community, free, and it's healthy. Um, and it also fits kind of a need that people have for third places. And for those that don't know what a third place is, I'm gonna try to describe it. Uh, Bear with me if I'm describing it incorrectly, but it's essentially just a place outside of work and your home where you could meet people, talk to friends, catch up, um, just live outside of the work and home life because that's not really life, right? And it fits that need. And I think it's very interesting, and I think it's overwhelmingly positive. I'm going to continue doing it because it's brought nothing but positivity in my life since starting. But now that we talked about the positivity and all the good stuff, let's go to the negatives. What are some of the downsides of these run clubs? The first thing is that, and this is an inevitability, it's going to happen. Um, but there are, some exclusive clubs that rise up that have fees you got to pay for membership, which seems like counterintuitive to the intention of run clubs. Um, and sometimes the emphasis is in like just being overly competitive, racing each other as opposed to actually meeting people. And you'll notice what the environment or the culture is per club. The benefit of having an abundance of them is that you can choose. You can choose which ones you want to be a part of, which ones you don't want to be a part of. The second downside, I'm not going to go too much into this, is that it always attracts, because it's so accessible, it attracts everybody. Anybody can go, including people that just want to go there to date, essentially. Um, so both females and males, it could kind of distort the intention of the club or the community. It can get kind of weird sometimes. Um, Last thing, what is this going to look like in the future? What is the future of run clubs? I think the future of run clubs um, are only going to bring good things. Anything that de-atomizes um, communities and emphasizes reliance on other people and placing value on relationships is a good thing, because it is. And I'm not a communist. I'm not saying I'm into communism, and because in all honesty, we're not like a pure democracy. There's aspects of socialism and democracy and other political systems that are integrated into our government. And one can question if we're even a pure democracy. Um, but I think that anything that pushes the reliance on other people is a good thing. And I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but at the end of the day, power is in numbers, and a community that does that, that also emphasizes health and accessibility, is mostly good. But we'll see. Only time will tell. I'm not an oracle. I appreciate whoever's watching. Give me any tips if you have any for suggestions on future videos, what topics I should cover. Leave it in the comments. And I appreciate it. All right. See you in the next one.